What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioS 3 Raw TV. Hopefully this video finds you well, safe and sound, away from all this craziness in our world. And today, the 20-year remembrance of 9/11. And I'll tell you, like, it's hard to believe that it's been 20 years. 20 years, 2 decades. That's really hard for me to comprehend because it's still so vivid in my mind, and I'm sure many of yours and many people across the country, like it just happened like last week. And it was, I got up this morning and there was kind of a somber feeling. Like just when I got up, you could actually feel, like I hadn't even logged on to social media or anything. Just got up and kind of walked around the house, looked outside, and you could just feel this somber kind of low energy, like negative kind of feeling. And I'm like, wow, like 20 years really hasn't fixed or healed anything for many people. And I couldn't imagine being the people of New York that had loved ones, friends and family that were killed 20 years ago. And I got up this morning and I wasn't sure, like, I'm not really sure how to feel, because I don't feel like it's something that most of us have gotten past as Americans. It's just not. With all the stuff going on right now in Afghanistan, that 20-year fight on terrorism was lost the 20th year of that war. That 20th year of us going to battle against terrorism was lost. And I was like, man, I don't know how to feel. I don't know what to think. I don't know how to feel. I'm angry. I'm upset. I'm hurt. I'm pissed. I'm all these emotions at once. And I realized that, no matter who you are, if you were alive during 9/11, 20 years ago, and you were old enough to know what's going on, some of you weren't even born yet. Some of you were so young you don't know. You were there, but you don't really realize because you weren't aware when you were there. Because you're so young that if you were there or you were around, if you were American and you were, you understood what was going on, you have some form of PTSD in one shape or another. It doesn't matter whether you are from New York, whether you're a police officer, a doctor, whether you're a first responder in the military, not in the military, civilian, whether you live in Wyoming or New York or California, it doesn't matter. If you're American, you have some sort of PTSD from what happened 20 years ago. And I sat back and I said, man, I don't know how to feel. So I'm like, look, the thing for me is I like to work out. So I said, I got to do morning cardio. So I hopped on the Peloton bike and found that they had a remembrance ride starting, a live remembrance ride. And I never wind up hitting the live ones. I just use the archive ones. And I decided to go on the remembrance ride. And what they did was they had music that was indicative of the time, like songs that were played around then, songs that were created for 9/11, after 9/11, about 9/11. And I watched this trainer, this coach, this Peloton person tell her experience about what had happened, how she saw it through her eyes. And pretty much through the whole ride she cried. And it was hard to watch. Because you're realizing that 20 years has gone by, and that pain is still very fresh to many people. You look at the people that passed away, that were killed in New York, and you wonder, well, imagine the people that affected, that it was their friends and family and loved ones, how they feel today. If I'm feeling like this, how do they feel right now? And all these emotions and thoughts started coming in my head. I'm like, oh, there's so much still going on. And adding the fact that we have just completely lost that war on terrorism in the last couple of weeks makes me go, what the fuck is going on? What the hell is really going on? What the fuck are we doing? For me, I was knee deep in my addiction, Oxycontins. Heroin was just starting. And I got up that morning. I took my dose of Oxycontin, which means I cooked it up and I shot it in my arm. I sat back in bed like I usually did and waited for everything to kick in. Turned the TV on and the first plane had already hit. And I thought to myself, wow, what the fuck happened to where an accident like this could happen? That pilot really fucked up. That's what I was thinking. Excuse me, in my head, or an engine blew out, mechanical problems, whatever, right? And then the second plane hit while I was watching, and I was like, holy shit. And then it wasn't long before the TV said that we're under attack. We were under a terrorist attack. And that made everything like, holy shit. So we're all watching. We see the plane crash in the field in Pennsylvania. We see the plane crash at the Pentagon. We realize we're fucked right now. Something big is happening. But I was high. So even though I'm watching it, it's like a dream. And I remember the aftermath for weeks after. And I had to go get more Oxycontin. So I literally drove through Ground Zero, which everybody told, like, listen, don't go there right now. Like, it's not just, believe me, don't go. And me and my friend Timmy, we drove through down Ground Zero and saw it firsthand, and it was chilling, to say the least. And I remember very vividly, like, getting to the other side of New Jersey through New York, and we got the pills, and then we had to come back through it again. And when we got home, it was like, I wanted to do more drugs to forget what I just saw. Because on TV, it's on TV. But when you're there and you look at it, it's a whole different fucking ballgame. And I remember thinking to myself, like, what do we do? What does New York do? What does the police do? What do the FBI do? What do we do? Like, what does the military do? What do we do? How do we stop this again? What the fuck? There was all these questions, and it's this fear of, well, somebody came to our land and they took it to us on our own ground. Holy shit, this is America. That doesn't happen. And of course, we went and invaded the Middle East and etc. with this crazy war that we had for 20 years. But the one thing that I really, really notice and remember, just as much as the actual, planes hitting themselves, was the period of time, we're talking months after, where Americans from everywhere all came together as one. For the first time in my lifetime, I had never seen that before. I had never seen people in Florida, in California, in Texas, in wherever, crying their eyeballs out for the people of New York and sending money and jumping on planes to come over and help and driving, 3 or 4 days straight, no sleep to get there to help. And the people that were consoling other people and the people that went out of their way to do whatever they could to ease pain and comfort everyone. It didn't matter who. It didn't matter if you were from there. It didn't matter. And I look back at that. I'm like, we did that then. Why aren't we doing that now? Why aren't we coming together now with the shitstorm that's happening right now? With everything that's going on in our country. Why aren't we doing that right now? Do we need to have something so big happen? Right? Where so many Americans die. Whether it's what's going on in Afghanistan. We had 13 soldiers die already. That's enough for us to say enough is enough. But we're still not bonding together. We're still fighting each other. We're fighting about masks. We're fighting about vaccines. We're fighting about opening schools, closing schools, opening businesses, closing businesses. We're fighting about how much money the government should give us. We're fighting about what Biden said. We're fighting about what Trump said. We're fighting about everything right now. And we're not paying attention to what's going on right in front of us. What's going on right in front of us is an opportunity for Americans to come together again, bond together, and get through everything that's going on right now. 9/11 is a reminder of what we can be, what we can do when we come together. But we're not doing it. Why aren't we doing it? It seems like we keep getting separated. We kept getting pitted against each other. At that point, in 2001, there was no pitting us against anybody but the enemy. We weren't pitting anybody against anybody in America. It didn't matter whether you were Democrat, Republican, tall, small, whether you were from Texas. It didn't matter whether you were black, white, Asian. It didn't matter. We were all American, and we were going after the people that fucked with us. We were going after the people that thought that they were going to hurt America. We stood together strong. And somewhere we get divided. We let the politicians do it. We let the celebrities do it. We let the big pharma do it, big tech do it, big pharma. We let everybody get in there in between us. We let these entities do what those terrorists tried to do 20 years ago. They tried to destroy our society. They wanted to harm and hurt us. They wanted us to fall 20 years ago. And here we are now, and that's exactly what's happening. America is falling. But I also know that, hey, 300 million Americans, even if we're all not all on the same page, if we bind together, there are strength in numbers. There's no way we would ever fall if we're together and united. And know we can do it because we did it before. So in closing, the people that passed away in that terrorist attack in New York, in the Twin Towers, the Pentagon, on the flight that crashed in Pennsylvania, those people, you think they'd be okay with what's going on right now in our country? You think that they'd be fine with what's happening? The division that's happening, fighting each other? I say this. I say those people should not have died in vain for our country due to terrorism. Because terrorism doesn't have to be from the Middle East. Terrorism could be right here on our own grounds from our own politicians. It could be from our own police. It could be from our own doctors. It could be from our own big pharma. Everything. Terrorism comes in many forms, and I do believe we have acts of terrorism happening right now on our soil to us, collectively. But we're too busy fighting each other to know what's going on. Well, 20 years ago, we weren't fighting each other. We had a common enemy. And when we figure that out again, who our common enemy is, and figure out what's been going on, God help the hailstorm of wrath that will be put down upon those that cause it. Today's a day of remembrance. And I remember just like it was yesterday. I have big chunks of memory missing from the drugs. But that day is so vivid. So vivid. The day I drew through New York, so vivid. That it'll be seared in my brain for the rest of my life. How I'll feel next year, I don't know. But this year, I feel like we've gone so far backwards in the last year that all we can do is fight back. Like we did in 2001. We fought back together. You guys have a good rest of your weekend. God bless and Godspeed.